Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for March 13th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs right here at sportsbookreview.com. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. March Madness continues to roll on with conference tournament action. The NFL getting interesting here, as we like to say, in the silly season. Hot topic of the day, Teddy. Tuesday madness in the NFL. Forget March Madness for a moment. Le'Veon Bell goes to the Jets. Odell Beckham Jr. in a trade to the Browns. Great for the back page of the Daily News. Great for the front page in Cleveland. But does it really help your team moving forward here, Teddy? That's the question.
Oh, I think it helps the Browns a lot. The Browns were already going to be a popular betting choice in the markets going into 2019. You put a playmaker like OBJ on that roster, along with all the other playmakers they have, along with the hype of Baker Mayfield. You see it already with the Super Bowl odds. The Cleveland Browns, who've been woeful for a decade, 2 decades, forever. 14-1. The odds really dropping on Cleveland. As for the Giants, I don't know what the Giants are doing. As for the Jets, I don't know. Let's spend $50 million on a running back that's not going to help us win any games. It's like the New York markets haven't recognized that running backs are completely devalued in the NFL marketplace right now. Saquon Barkley on the one side, Le'Veon Bell on the other. Between those two teams, they're going to win 8 games this season? Maybe. The bottom line, they spent a lot of money. The Jets, the Giants, God, OBJ for a 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder, really? From a franchise that said weeks ago, he's not even on the trading block. No way, he's our future. I don't know what the Giants are doing. I don't know what the Jets are doing. And I'm certainly convinced that the win total marketplace is going to recognize the lack of impact for guys like Le'Veon Bell moving forward.
Yeah, when we take a look at the Giants, it's understandable if you wanted to move on, you had to get out of the way, but you just signed the guy to a record contract, one of the highest paid wide receivers of all time. And you're so excited to get rid of him, Teddy. Not only, you get back the 17th overall pick, a 3rd round pick, and then you get also a safety back. But we're talking about a 26-year-old game-changing wide receiver, and you have to eat $21 million in dead money to make it go forward. And the year before you draft a running back, which your game plan would have, from what I assumed would be, get your future quarterback. We got our future running back. We have our future wide receiver. No idea what the Giants are doing at this point, but it's also interesting to see the Cleveland Browns said, can we put in a crystal ball 2 years ago and we had this same show, Teddy, that betting show, and we said, you know what? The Browns would be 14-1 to win the Super Bowl heading into 2019. We would have laughed at each other, Teddy.
Yes and no. Look, when you're that bad for that long, at some point you accumulate enough draft capital to do something. Look at the Jags. And because it's a badly run organization and they had a bad quarterback, Jacksonville couldn't build off what they put together in 2017. But, the bad organizations don't tend to build off their successes, which worries me about Cleveland moving forward.
It's an interesting point too, Teddy, is when you look at Kansas City, still, according to DraftKings out of New Jersey, still sitting up top at 7.5-1 as a ticket to cash in to win the Super Bowl, and they lose both of their top pass rushers, cutting Justin Houston and also trading D Ford away. So it just leads to show you can make all these magic moves out here, get the running backs, get the wide receivers, but quarterback, Teddy, is king in the NFL.
Quarterback is king when you're watching free agency. The media is going to fixate on the fantasy players, the wide receivers and the running backs. If you're a savvy bettor, you will fixate on the trenches and the secondary for where teams tend to make the strongest move. Matt Paredes to the Panthers. That's an impact signing for a team that lost Ryan Kelly at center. That is a good move. That's the type of move you want to be aware of in free agency. Those key linemen, those Pro Bowl caliber linemen, the pass rushers like D Ford. Those are the movements that matter the most here in silly season.
Talk about movements that matter, Teddy. Gonzaga took a lot of money yesterday, closing around -15. But if you can't shoot and make the three in college basketball, like we're watching right now here in the ACC tournament with Clemson burying three-pointer after three-pointer in NC State, chances are you're going to lose that battle and also lose the war and the game in itself. Zags come in, Teddy, averaging close to 88 points a game and are held to 47 points. That old knockdown, drag him out, West Coast Conference, old school St. Mary's Gonzaga game went down. St. Mary's punches the ticket. Impressive performance out there in Las Vegas for them.
Yeah, really, when we talk about the game itself, it came down to pace. St. Mary's made it a 60-possession game, and that worked very much in their favor. The Zags who averaged more than 88 points a game in conference play, barely got to half that last night. That has everything to do with the Gales' defense and the Gales' insistence on slowing everything down and not giving the Zags anything in transition. All that being said, St. Mary's flat out stole a bid. They weren't getting a bid. They were not going to get an at-large invite. They stole one last night. The West Coast Conference gets 2. And what does that mean? That means that every other team on the bubble just went down a notch and went down a notch. Most of these bubble teams aren't going to get in because of teams like St. Mary's stealing bids. I'm confident the Gales won't be the only team to steal a bid this week, obviously with all this conference tournament action going on, and give a 1-bid conference an extra bid or a 4-bid conference an extra bid. These can and do happen. That's bad news for all of those bubble teams that are biting their fingers as you head towards Selection Sunday.
Hey, Teddy, real quick thoughts on this. Gonzaga, even though they dropped last night their basketball game in the WCC final, still on that one line for you heading into March Madness next week?
I would think so. But honestly, seeding is for the public. Point spreads are for bettors. I pay zero attention to seeding. I really don't. I'm going to fill in a bracket. I do. Not when I'm handicapping a game. The Zags certainly look to me on paper to be one of the top 4 teams in the country going in to the big dance seeding process. But then again, make no mistake about it. Seedings that the committee is supposedly, looking at these stats on, they're based on TV matchups. They're based on second-round matchups. They're not based on how the teams actually should be ranked. There are a lot of other factors that get considered, which means the Zags could get screwed and get dropped down to a 2 seed because they are not one of the big draws for college basketball when it comes to TV ratings.
Teddy, when we take a look at the NBA, it was favorites night last night on Tuesday. 7-0 straight up, 5-2 against the number. Bucks, Lakers, and Blazers all roll on the road. The Sixers at home versus the lowly Cleveland Cavaliers, the shorthanded Cavaliers, the poor Cavaliers, the back-to-back Cavaliers. We're within 1 point of the Sixers late in that ball game, but the Sixers end up picking up the win, but not the cover. So one of those 2 teams that did not cover last night. LeBron goes into Chicago, has a big night, gets 36-10 in a 123-107 victory, but public probably had a good night last night, Teddy. The 7 favorites are winning.
Yeah, they all win straight up, go 5-2 against a number, the chalk, last night in the NBA. Spurs made me sweat, but they ended up cashing my ticket as well. And there's so much to talk about here. Let's start with the game. You talk about the lowly Cavs, the injured Cavs. The Cavs have played competitive basketball since before the All-Star break. They've been money winners, consistent money winners for their supporters. They were again last night. They are not playing like a bottom feeder team. And that's common with many of the lottery-bound squads. Memphis is playing well. Hell, the Bulls have been playing pretty well. They didn't play well last night. They got Bron, and Rondo went nuts, and Kuzma went nuts. Maybe getting out of L.A. was the best thing the Lakers could have hoped for.
Teddy, MLB First Look, as we talk each and every day here on SportsbookReview.com's That Betting Show, getting you ready for Major League Baseball on opening day. Sometimes I like the kid here. Major League Baseball First Look today is the Miami Marlins, Teddy, and probably will be our last look at the Miami Marlins this year. 63-98 last year. Over, under in totals this year, Teddy, 63.5, a 250-1 ticket if you want to place that wager for them to win the World Series. Not a lot to love here with Miami as you see the piecemealing of the team over the past couple years to try to build up that farm system. Outfielders Dean, Brinson, and O'Brien don't really bring too much to the table at this point. Still some young guys out there. Starling Castro at second base. We know he's going to produce, but can he produce with anything else? Brian Anderson, a young third baseman that does have some talent. Pitching staff, a lot to leave to be desired out there, Teddy. And also the bullpen not looking too good. The Marlins in a division where the Mets got better. The Philadelphia Phillies got better. The Atlanta Braves got better. Looking for those draft picks, Teddy, down in Miami this year.
Sure. There are 4 competitive teams in the NL East, and then there's Miami. And that's very clear going into the season. Last year, there was one division like this. It was the AL East, and Toronto ended up being worse than expected, and they weren't a competitive team. But the 5th team in that AL East, the Baltimore Orioles, ended up having one of the worst seasons for their backers in MLB history. They lost more than 50 units. Miami was actually in the top half of the league in profitability last year, despite the fact that they were 63 games, 63-98. You lose 98 games and you're still in the top half of the league. It tells you where you're being priced every day. They finished number 12 at profitability. Small money losers, but not huge money losers. And they had, 24 rookie guys saw playing time for Miami last year. But it reminds me of Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, all these championships in Chicago. When it's time to own, well, I'm going to go to Charlotte and get a smaller market franchise. And what have the Hornets done in the Michael Jordan era? Nothing. So here's Derek Jeter. All those titles with the Yankees. Well, it's time to own. Where am I going to own? Oh, let's own Miami. This is what you get, Derek Jeter. A rough organization. You talked about some of the young talent. Yeah, there were a couple guys that showed progress last year. Brian Anderson, Trevor Richards and Pablo Lopez, and the staff showed some signs a year ago. But look, this is a last place team before opening day. It's hard to make money in baseball backing last place teams.
Nope, and you see that total over under there, about 63.5. That should be the odds, Ted, on how many fans they get in the seats per game down there in Miami this year. Should be an interesting one to watch. But then again, Teddy, there is no more statue down on South Beach. They did remove that, so hey, maybe that'll add a win or two. We'll see. Segment number 2, overnight line movers, Teddy. Best place to check on the internet, SBRodds.com, right here at sportsbookreview.com. Lines are always moving, including this one. This morning, the Huskers, Teddy, opened up at -1.5, rose to 2.5. Offshore actually went to a pick'em just a few moments ago, now stabilizing back at -1 in the favor for the Huskers. Rutgers, Nebraska, neutral court. Nebraska saw some odds come out there, some information come out banged up today. So no surprise that line bouncing up and down based on who's going to play. And can Rutgers get a win in conference tournament madness, Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, look, recognize what the next couple of days are going to be like from a point spread perspective. Numbers are going to be bouncing all over the place. They're going to go one way at night, and then it's going to go another way in the morning, and then a different group's going to come in and say, oh, let's get involved in the afternoon. You're going to see lines jumping around. As a bettor, you do your best to get what we call the best of the number, getting the best point spread for whatever side you're on. In this environment where lines are going to bounce around, you can't make yourself crazy if you miss a half point. It can and will happen. All that being said, I was a little bit surprised at the overnight money coming for Rutgers, but then Rutgers coming from Nebraska, I should say. But the markets haven't been high on Rutgers all year. They're still not high on Rutgers. And we saw a little bit of refuse to lose from Nebraska over the weekend. They've been underachievers, no question. But they rallied from behind, won in overtime against Iowa. The markets, at least overnight, view that as a buy sign for Nebraska moving forward.
Heat versus Pistons, Teddy, in the NBA. I need some help on this one. I got to tell you, opened up overnight 212.5 at a couple offshore outlets. Now sitting at 207.5. A 5-point swing in this game with the Pistons and the Heat. Money line +105, -125. Teddy, what's up with the 5-point line drop here?
Yeah, well, it's a total drop. And obviously, NBA totals can and will move very quickly when the wise guys get involved. This is one where the wise guys have been involved in a big way. And it has everything to do with what happened on Monday when the Pistons played in Brooklyn. That game wasn't slow. That game was slow. It stayed under by 45 points as the Pistons played the Nets. The market's expecting more of the same tonight. Certainly the wise guys expecting Detroit to play slower than their season-long stats might indicate.
Interesting game coming up tonight. Watch what you bet here on sportsbookreview.com. We're going to have an ESPN game. Nets and the Thunder, -7, total of 231.5. Moneyline split +250, -335. Interesting game here. Obviously, we know the little comeuppance from the crowd in Utah getting on Westbrook. Westbrook a little bit later in the pocket, going to take the court tonight. Nets are 37-32 against the number on the season. 19-13, Teddy, against the spread on the road. The Thunder are 35-32 against the spread on the season. 16-5 against the spread at home at Chesapeake Energy Arena. Should be a decent game tonight. Westbrook come extra fired up here, Teddy.
Well, I mean, Westbrook, it doesn't matter if he's fired up or not. The guy plays the same every night. An extra fired up Westbrook wouldn't in my mind wouldn't be a bet on situation because he's so fired up on a night in, night out basis. Here's his quote. If I had to do it again, I would say the exact same thing because I truly will stand up for myself, for my family, for my kids, for my wife. It's worth noting the guy that was calling him out got ejected permanently from Utah game. As you mentioned, we'll talk that a little bit later. But, 2-2 road trip for the Thunder, returning home. The Nets, in the first meeting between these two teams, the Nets led by 18 going into the fourth quarter. They were outscored by 20 in the fourth quarter. They lost 114-112. Paul George went nuts in that game, 47 points. He scored 25 of those in the fourth quarter. But George is ice cold right now. Since coming back from that shoulder injury, just 23% from beyond the arc in the last 4 games. That's from a guy who was shooting 40% from three-point range for the season. Nets are playing good ball right now. They won 4 in a row. They're playing defense. They held their last 4 opponents under 96 points per game. Point guard Spencer Dinwiddie. We're locked in and we're continuing to improve and turning in the right direction right now. It's very important for the standings. Can't get too high with what's coming up, but we're definitely happy with the result. Worth noting, the Nets schedule down the stretch is as brutal as it comes. Might be the toughest 14-game closeout of an NBA season that I've ever seen. I mean, it really is a brutal schedule for the Nets. So if they stay competitive over the last month of the regular season, got a decent chance to make their backers a fair bit of money because they're going to be underdogs a lot over the next few weeks.
NBA playoff preview tonight, Teddy. Warriors and the Rockets. Maybe we get that little synopsis, maybe a little insight to what's going to take place down the road. Rockets favored by 3.5. Total at 229.5. Moneyline split plus 125, minus 152. If we take a look, the Warriors are 26-39 against the spread on the season. 2-2 against the spread as road dogs, and 14-18 against the spread overall on the road this year. The Rockets 31-34 at home and 18-14 against the spread at home. 7-5 against the spread versus the Pacific Division. Should be a good one tonight in the back-to-back tonight of the doubleheader on ESPN.
Yeah, no Kevin Durant for Golden State tonight, and that's certainly reflected in the markets with the Rockets taking the early money, sitting at 3.5 point chalk right now, which is not a point spread range we're used to seeing Golden State in. The Warriors do have 2 point spread covers as an underdog this year. 2. If they win and cover tonight, that'll be number 3. They haven't obviously been in that role a ton, but when they have been in a role, they have not, as a dog, they have not been money winners. Golden State 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread against Houston in the regular season this year after knocking them off in 7 games last year. And you say, oh, this is circle the wagons time for Golden State. They're coming off a ridiculously bad loss to Phoenix at home, a complete no-show game. This is where they're going to step it up. Well, Warriors off a loss this season, 7-14 against the spread. They have not been moneymakers in any role, even off a loss. And here's a Rockets team. Don't think that they don't think that sweeping Golden State in the regular season is meaningful for a team that hasn't been able to get past the Warriors in the playoffs. The James Harden quote talking about how well Houston's playing right now. We know our system. Guys know their roles now. Defensively, as long as we can lock in for 4 quarters and hold opponents under what they average, and offensively get our shots, will live with the results. The Rockets' defense has been pretty darn good in recent ball games. Houston or pass for this better.
ACC action in prime time today, Teddy, going on all day long in Charlotte. Seeing right now Clemson's up 42-26 heading into the break. Notre Dame's going to tee it up with Louisville tonight. Spread minus 7.5. Favorite is the Louisville Cardinal. Total 134.5. Moneyline split plus 271, minus 335. 7 p.m. tonight, ESPN2 live from Spectrum Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. Notre Dame money burners on the season, 12-19 against the spread in all line games. Picked up a nice win yesterday against Georgia Tech. We're going to level up in competition with the Louisville Cardinals. Louisville is 16-13 against the spread in all line games, 8-7 as a favorite, and 10-8 in ACC play. The one number that does stick out for Notre Dame, Teddy, 6-12 this year in ACC play.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame only goes 6 deep. Mooney played 38 minutes yesterday. Gibbs and Hub played all 40. The Irish hit 57% from beyond the arc in the game against Georgia Tech. That's 1 win. Are they going to do it again? I'm not expecting it. We saw that they, a team that lost their last 7 regular season games, and they went home for a day after losing on the road, and then boom, flying back out to Charlotte, and they got the win yesterday. This is not a team that, in my mind, looks to be fighting down to the wire in every ballgame. I think Notre Dame got their win yesterday, and I think that they're, all right, let's go home. There's no NIT bid for this team this year, a sub-500 squad. And, it was only 4 years ago they were on the floor here in Greensboro with championship hats and shirts after winning this tournament. But, this is a team that's 8-25 straight up in ACC play since opening up last year, 3-0. Louisville's in a different, I know they're 2-6 straight up in their last 8 games, but boy, the quotes out of the Louisville locker room heading into this tournament looked very, very positive to me. Chris Mack, head coach, how I look at this tournament is an opportunity to win a championships. It's nice to know the experts feel like we have done enough not to worry about the second tournament. We're not worried about getting a bid. That's not necessarily being a weight on our shoulders heading in. This is a great opportunity for our team. I'm excited to see how we play. Let's not forget Louisville missed the big dance last year. I wouldn't be surprised they lay a whipping on Notre Dame tonight. It's favorite or pass for this better.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, already being light there, DJ Harvey's missed the past 3 games, key contributor, averaging close to 30 minutes a game, and that actually magnifies when you get to tournament play because you're not getting 3 to 4 days to rest between. You're playing back-to-back-to-back, and especially from the ACC, if you're going to make a run, Teddy, I think you're going to have to win the next 5 days in a row. Would certainly be tough to do. Off the mic segment, banned in the NBA, Teddy. We're not talking about records, back in the day from, rappers that just can't get their marketing out there and can't do this. No, banned in the NBA because of trashy mouth fans. And take a look. One a little bit different than the other one. We saw the one with the Utah Jazz fan that gets tossed for life out of Vivint Sports Arena. But then also on the flip side, James Dolan tosses a guy for life because he said sell the team and said it was an absolute ambush. Teddy, what's going on here? Fans taking over the arenas, but overly meticulous owners stepping in. Come on, what is this?
And the funny thing is, I honestly think I'm becoming a communist because I do not think that owners should own teams. I don't. When you look at James Dolan, okay, who has single-handedly screwed every Knicks fan for the last 20 years repeatedly, over and over again. And here's a fan saying, please, James, not even please, sell the team. If I saw him, and I was a Knicks fan, I would yell the exact same thing. Oh, we're going to ban you for life. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine James Dolan looking worse and having more PR miscues, but he has. And to say, oh, well, it's my team. No, it's not. It's the fans' team. It's New York's team. As for the guy in Utah, who the Jazz own home, the home fans or the players are saying, yeah, that guy's not right. If you say inappropriate things and scream them from a courtside seat, yeah, get banned. I got no problem with that. When you tell the owner to sell, and he's like, all right, I'm banning you from I own this. I'm banning you. I'm a billionaire, and I can do whatever I want. I don't even know what to say about James Dolan. Hopeless. And when you see bad ownership holding back these franchises, you're like, God, if the people owned it, we wouldn't have James Dolan making these bad decisions. But some billionaire bought it, and now we got to deal with it.
Yep, and even James Dolan's ran the Knicks into the ground. We've seen that there. But, at least he should be quick on his feet. Like, you're walking out, you're the owner. Hey, James, sell the team. He steps back from the tunnel, looks up and goes, well, how much are you going to offer me for the team? I mean, at least come up with a quip or something to get away with it, but completely embarrassing from the Knicks owner at this point. That betting show for March 13, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. A lot of stuff going on in NCAA basketball. We'll continue the coverage tomorrow and pick another Major League Baseball team to get you ready for opening day. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at RightSideVP. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow.